Earlier I spoke to Veterans Affairs Minister Darren Chester about a range of issues, including the fact that his local community businesses hit by the fires are now dealing with this concern around the coronavirus. Minister, thanks very much for your time.
Great to be here.
The Prime Minister is urging big business to keep people on. Obviously, there's going to be a major focus on small and medium-sized businesses with a stimulus package. What do you think for your businesses in your electorate? You've got many of them. What's most important to them?
Well, I think that's a critical message, to keep your staff on, because you're going to need them. As we bounce back from this a pretty tough summer, really, when you look at the ongoing impacts of the drought, the bushfires and now coronavirus, there's going to be impacts on the economy. But when we move our way through it and get into that recovery mode, if you like, people are going to need those qualified, talented staff in their business. So keep them on your books and work with them to make sure your business is viable in the longer term.
And obviously you can't go into the detail of the stimulus that's going to be announced by the government, the Prime Minister, later in the week. But what's the key thing for small business right now?
Well, for a lot of small businesses in my community, in regional Australia, they've been impacted by, as I said, the drought and bushfires. It's cash flow. It's getting people through the doors. It's having customers coming through, making sure they can meet their costs, obviously, but also turning over cash to make that profit they need to employ the staff. So right now, after a pretty tough few months, it's good to see a lot of people getting back out into those regional communities and supporting them. Ironically, Kieran, the impact of coronavirus might be positive in some of our regional communities as people delay overseas travel. They may choose to holiday at home more over the coming months.
And what's the mood like in your electorate? Are people panicking? Because in large parts of the country we've seen panic in the supermarkets, on the share market as well.
Yeah, look, the toilet paper aside, it's been pretty much carry on with business type work. People have just been focused on getting on with the bushfire recovery in my community. What we've seen over this most recent weekend, it was a long weekend in parts of Australia, certainly in Victoria and Canberra. We saw thousands of people make the road trip out to some of the bushfire affected areas. So our road was full of boats, caravans, campers, people out there wanting to spend a long weekend in those communities. I've got a few mates who run retail and restaurant type operations, and they've said to me, look, it's never been so easy to get money out of people's pockets. People want to come down and spend money. So that's a positive, that people are acting to try and help stimulate the economy in response to what they saw over summer.
So there's almost not enough time in terms of the recovery in Gippsland, East Gippsland, where the fires hit, for people to worry about coronavirus, because they're still dealing with the mop-up of the fires.
Well, you're right, Kieran. And keep in mind, right across that east coast of Australia during the summer months, we saw 2,900 homes destroyed. So there's a lot of work going on now in terms of getting that clean-up started. So, one, clean up the sites. Then the construction jobs are going to be huge. I mean, there's going to be a demand for builders and all sorts of trades right on the east coast as people seek to rebuild. So that was always going to be a 6 months, 12 months, 2 year job. Now, if you put the coronavirus into the mix in terms of impacting the economy, it's hard to know how it's all going to wash through. But there's going to be a lot of activity in those regional towns. But
people are listening to the message to get to those affected areas and to spend money. That's encouraging.
Well, we're often critical of social media. We're often say that it can be a bit negative. What I've seen is a lot of positive social media messages encouraging people to get out to those regional communities. Things like the empty esky promotion, telling people, get your esky, go there empty and fill it up with local produce. That's been very positive in my community. So I've been amazed by how quickly the community has responded in a positive way to try and keep those regional towns prosperous. Keep in mind, it's a long way through winter now into the next summer, so we need to keep on making every post of winter on the long weekends, on the Easter break, on school holidays, that type of thing. That's the same message, I think, right on the East Coast. If you live an hour or 2, 3 hours or so from a regional town, get out there and spend a few bucks if you can afford it, because those small businesses, those jobs that are created are very important for those communities.
And how's the landscape recovering?
It's amazing. I am stunned by how quickly some parts of the bush are coming back. You drive through areas which were pretty heavily impacted by fire, and the gum trees are starting to reshoot, the tree ferns have reshot. We've been very lucky with rain over the January period. We had a very wet January, so in many ways the bush has been able to recover quicker than we thought, which is obviously good for the local wildlife as well. So that's a positive. I mean, I'm not suggesting it's all over yet. We've got a long way to go in the recovery process, but there is a mood of optimism out there which I'm really excited by.
And within the government, just finally, what's the mood like? Because there is a sense that this is a pivotal few months for the coalition government to ensure, obviously the surplus is gone, understandably, given the crises that the government's facing in the health crisis right now. But how much is at stake when it comes to avoiding a recession?
Well, I think it's a bit like pre-season training. We're all in this together. We've done the hard work in the pre-season to get the economy in a good shape to take on these challenges, and the Prime Minister's got a good team behind him. Now, we're all in it together. We know we have to work hard to get Australia through this. We think if we can stay as positive and optimistic as we possibly can, the economy is resilient. We're seeing examples already of businesses being able to get through the drought and the bushfires and now facing another challenge, but Australian businesses are very resilient, so we believe we work with them. We can help Australians get through all this. So, yeah, I think we're in good shape. We do need to be optimistic and positive about that.
And things will, as you said earlier, bounce back eventually.
Well, I'm confident
on the markets too.
Well, if history's any guide, the markets will bounce back. But I think the announcement later on this week by the Prime Minister and the Treasurer in terms of the direct package they're looking at, I think will give people even more confidence that we do have a plan, that we approached this challenging summer with the economy in good shape. We've made some tough decisions over the last 5 or 6 years, and we're in good shape to take on these new challenges. But no one's underestimating the size of the challenges. It's something that's going to be difficult to work our way through, but we're all in it together.
And one that nations are grappling with all around the world. I appreciate your time, Mr. Chester. Thanks so much.
All the best. Thank you.